Okay, we'll go ahead and get started. Just the first couple minutes here are introduction. So hopefully, as a few more participants join, we'll be just getting to the good stuff. Welcome everyone, or welcome back if you've attended one of our previous webinars. I'm Jessica Mellema. I lead corporate marketing and communications for Spinutech. If you're not familiar with us, Spinutech is a full-service web design and digital marketing agency with offices in Cedar Falls and Des Moines, Iowa, Chicago, Denver, and Tampa, and remote team members in more than 25 states. We help our clients build unique customer experiences to grow digital traffic, convert leads, and to track their entire marketing funnel in one spot. And one of our core values at Spinutech is we get better every day, the GBED that you see here on the screen. And we strive to get better for ourselves, our teammates, and our clients with that mantra. We are a team of lifelong learners, and as such, we decided we wanted to start sharing our expertise and discoveries with all of you. So whether you're already a partner of ours or we haven't met yet, we hope you learned something today. And we would love to continue the conversation beyond this webinar, whether it's on the topic that we're covering today or anything in the digital marketing and web development realm. Today, you're going to hear from two subject matter experts on our paid media team. And they're going to explore digital media campaign types and bid strategies that leverage automation, machine learning, and technologies to help you achieve your goals. I'm guessing if you're attending, you've already been hearing about automation and machine learning and are curious to figure out how to harness that. Matt McKay is a senior programmatic media strategist out of New Hampshire, and Chase Boujan is a paid media strategist in Chicago. And we encourage you to ask questions and think about questions as Matt and Chase are presenting today. I don't have a live chat feature open here in the Zoom session, but I do have the Q&A session open, or the Q&A feature. And I'll be monitoring that while they're presenting, and we will leave time for questions at the end of the presentation. So please feel free to fire off questions as you think of them, or as we get to the end, that'd be a good time to enter them as well. And with that, we will jump in with Chase, who's going to start us off with an introduction to automation.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for coming here today. If you are here, I'm sure you have a lot of questions. You've probably been hearing a lot about marketing automation, machine learning, like what is automation? How do these machine learning algorithms work? The nice thing is you don't need to be a computer scientist to understand how all of this works and how to get the maximum amount of benefit for it for your paid media marketing campaigns. Really, the key to unlocking marketing automation in all of your campaigns is data. It works off of data and processing it. And the key is really passing high quality data straight into your campaigns. And that means using the right tags on your website, connecting Google Analytics 4 with your Google Ads account. And if you're using a CRM like Salesforce and you have offline conversions, passing that first party data straight into Google Ads so its machine learning algorithms can start learning off of it. But first, let's start with a quick history of Google Ads and machine learning. In the beginning, Google Ads was a very manual platform. You could say dumb even. It didn't use machine learning or algorithms really at all when it came to picking out keywords and targeting audiences. Since then, it has gone through a lot of changes. First off, from the name, switching from Google AdWords in the beginning to, in 2018, Google Ads. Still a lot of people out there who like to call it AdWords. In 2014, when we look at the timeline of automation, we see Google acquires the AI lab DeepMind for $500 million. In the years since, they've been investing even more millions and millions of dollars into AI research. Then in 2016, Google announces its first smart bidding strategy. What smart bidding means is instead of a human marketer like myself manually picking bids for campaigns or creating a script that maybe adjusts bids, these smart bidding algorithms use machine learning algorithms to pick out the optimal bids. Then 2 years later in 2018, Google introduces some of its first smart campaigns. These campaigns, unlike previous campaigns, have these machine learning algorithms built into the very DNA of the campaigns. Unlike traditional search, where you might be able to pick a smart bidding algorithm if you want, but you could also be manual, and the way you go to auction and bid is also still manual. Since then, Google's rolled out more smart shopping campaign types like smart shopping, discovery, and now the latest and greatest in smart campaigns and smart bidding is Performance Max, which I'm sure some of you have heard about. It is certainly a hot topic in the industry right now, and a lot of agencies are starting to adapt it, learn how it works, and how to use it. On our next slide, we go more into PMAX and Discovery, kind of the most automated campaigns, if you will. Discovery is a campaign tactic that only has 3 channel placements available to it. Those channel placements are the Discover Network, which is mobile only, Gmail, and YouTube. And specifically for YouTube, display ads on YouTube, not videos. Performance Max, on the other hand, has access to all of Google's ad inventory. That literally means everything: paid search, shopping, maps, Gmail, so on and so forth. If PMAX covers the same inventory as Discovery, you might be wondering, what's the difference? The difference really comes down to how they target users across the web. Discovery is very narrow. You give it an audience, and it only targets that audience across Gmail, Discovery, and YouTube. Unless you opt into optimized targeting, it is not going to go very far out from the audience you give it to find new users. Performance Max, on the other hand, is very aggressive with how it looks for the optimal users across Google Ads. You give it an audience as a starting place, and it starts learning off of that audience. Then, as it learns about certain behaviors and characteristics of these users, if it finds users that it thinks is likely to convert outside of the audience that you gave it in the beginning, it will start aggressively going out and finding those people. That really takes us into kind of the heart of automation and what makes it different from our old bid strategies. This really comes down to contextual targeting versus behavioral targeting. The way bidding worked in the past, it was contextual. Ads were triggered based off of a user's ad query. So for instance, if someone was searching bath towels and you were targeting that, whenever that search was made on Google, your ad could be triggered at auction. What sets behavioral targeting, which is what automated bid strategies use, apart, is it's not just looking at the context of a search, it's looking at everything else and everything that came before it. For instance, using this as an example, and I have one of my clients is in the home goods space, so this is how we really think about it when we're thinking about automated bidding. Automated bidding strategy is going to look at that user's behavior. For instance, are they a prolific online shopper? Do they have something added to a shopping cart right now on a different tab? These are all the different signals that you cannot get in a manual bid strategy, but that an automated bid strategy has access to, and it really makes it powerful. So again, if this user is a prolific online shopper and they typically shop on their MacBook, Google Ads will be able to see all that and then set your bids even higher because it knows that this person is likely to convert. That's what sets it apart. So not just the context of the search, but all the behavior, individual user behavior behind it. So if you're using automation and your competition is using contextual targeting, you're really going to have an edge over them because they're only looking at specific contexts of what's occurring, whereas you're looking at behavior. So this then really brings us into automated bid strategies. Which ones should you be using? If you're an e-commerce website, you should be really looking into maximize conversions, target CPA, which is target cost per acquisition. How much did that new lead cost? And target ROAS. ROAS being return on ad spend. Also, think of it as ROI. These are all great automated bid strategies. And what Google is looking at purchases. So that's a data point, conversions, and revenue, another data point. So if you're doing target ROAS, it's going to look at not only does Google think this user is likely to convert, but how much the expected revenue is. I understand if people might be skeptical if Google can really know that. based off my experience of integrating clean sales data into Google Ads, it actually does a really good job predicting things like average order value and getting you to that ROAS target. Now, let's say you are a lead gen website, or one of your clients is running lead gen campaigns. For you, then, what's going to be really important is importing first-party data from their CRM into Google Ads. And once you've done that, using a bid strategy like target impression share, if it's a brand campaign and you're going after your own brand keywords, and maximize conversions or target CPA if you're trying to generate new leads. Max conversions is great if you're trying to really grow that business. Target CPA makes more sense if you have limited budget and your client isn't in a place where they're looking to grow but just get efficient leads. For either business type, if you're getting fewer than 30 conversions a month, a good rule of thumb is to then set up micro conversions, things like multiple page visits, time on site, etc. This will give Google really important data to start learning on to figure out who your ideal audience is based off those micro conversions, and then start going after that. We actually implemented micro conversions for one of our clients here at Spinutech, who was getting less than 30 form fills a month. And after that, the smart bidding algorithms were really able to learn who this ideal audience was. And since then, their actual primary conversions have started growing month over month over month. Just goes to show how powerful machine learning is and micro conversions. With that, I'm going to pass it over to Matt, who's going to talk more about automation in the programmatic space. Take it away.
Thanks, Chase. Now, as you mentioned, I'm going to switch gears a little bit and discuss evolution of automation for programmatic advertising. For those not entirely familiar, programmatic advertising is the process of automatically buying and selling digital advertising space. So its core, programmatic advertising, takes different layers of automation and combines it all into one cohesive environment. By utilizing an automated symbiotic relationship, advertisers are able to tap into publishers' inventory through demand-side platforms or DSPs, through ad exchanges and onto sites and apps without having to utilize any direct human-to-human contact at all. I may be a little biased, but programmatic advertising is quite possibly the peak of automation. And it doesn't just stop there with connecting the pipes between advertisers and publishers. Almost every facet of programmatic advertising is filled with processes that are touched or assisted with automation, starting from campaign setup to targeting and optimization to reporting, et cetera, et cetera. The list goes on. As more and more companies invested in the technology and machine learning surrounding the digital ad space, the universe of ad placements has become much more vast, such as tapping into Gmail inventory with Google Discovery, or different types of video placements like inline video or native. Even responsive design, as Chase mentioned before, where the units can interact with the best performing call to actions and images and that type of thing. Automation is necessity to strategists to keep up in the always evolving digital ad space. Next, we're going to dive a little deeper and touch on some automated campaign strategies for programmatic campaigns. As I mentioned before, automation is included in almost every layer of what we do day to day for our programmatic campaigns. Whether you're focusing on just driving traffic or maybe an on-site conversion action of some kind, or it could just be top of funnel general brand awareness. Each different type of programmatic campaign takes countless factors into consideration, utilizing automation, machine learnings, performance algorithms, all of those to just try to achieve client campaign goals as efficient as possible. The DSPs will make automatic adjustments and optimize campaign setup within parameters and targeting tactics that we set up as strategists, and to try, as I mentioned, to drive more efficient performance. These efficiencies enable us to easily audit what's working, what's not working, make better decisions on what's best for the campaign and the client without having to focus too much on the super granular details. Some specific examples of these optimizations include, removing poor performing sites and apps. Some DSPs do that automatically. Some can give recommendations. Other examples are, day parting, so focusing on different times of day. If it's some of our client, like one of my clients is a small business loan type application conversion. So, focusing on, 9 to 5 versus, after business hours is more likely to drive that overall conversion. Same thing in that example is focusing on device type. So more often than not, users are going to convert on a desktop device over their mobile phone as they're scrolling around the web. The final example here is utilize user web behavior to prioritize devices more likely to hit against campaign KPIs. So basically that just takes into account users who have completed conversion action, prioritizing third-party users with similar profiles that are going to, more likely to convert, similar to how that other person did. Those are just a few examples, and the list can go on and on from different optimizations that are automated. Now, next slide, we're going to touch on implementing first-party data and the impact automation has had on that overall. From a programmatic advertising perspective, there are a few variety of ways to automate compiling first-party data. And first is placing an image or JavaScript pixel as a retargeting tag on clients' landing pages, home pages, any pages of relevance that we want to kind of create an audience bucket to target against. Another example is placing a universal pixel, which fires across all pages, and then we can create subsets of audience based on URL strings, or if someone clicked a certain button, et cetera. Just kind of subsetting and creating more granular audiences based on website behavior. And then finally, Chase touched on it in his beginning slides, is onboarding CRM data. So, taking clients' first-party data, automating that through a platform, aligning that data based on users' devices, IDs, and IP information, and then pushing those to the DSP directly for targeting against our campaigns. These automated processes enable us to tap into specific data sets to place the right ad in front of the right user at the right time more efficiently. Now back to Chase to touch on the paid search side of first-party data.
Yep. The important thing for paid search is integrating whatever CRM you're using directly into Google Ads, or if you can't do that, setting up scheduled manual uploads. It can be time-consuming, it can be frustrating, but I assure you the end result is truly worth it. People call this the digital age or the data age. Data is your strongest weapon out here, and it's going to give you an edge over everyone else. If you can put it into that, that's the most important thing to supercharge your campaigns. So some of you might now be wondering, if the campaigns are automated and the bidding is automated and the placement is automated, what do you actually do here? Has your job been automated out of existence? The answer is no. There is a lot that we still do and a lot that paid media strategists bring to the table. Nowadays, more than anything, we are algorithm jockeys. We are looking at the data that we're feeding into our platforms. We're evaluating how clean that data is, how high quality and reliable it is. And then once all that data has been validated and into the platform, we are then basically aiming the algorithms and our campaigns into the right direction. It still requires a lot of human and manual input in order to work well. So besides QAing and everything, part of what we're doing is we're looking at campaigns and seeing how fit the algorithm is to the data that we have put into it. And sometimes the machine learning and the assumptions that they create are overfit to the data. The world has changed, the marketplace has changed. So we need to know when to reset these algorithms back into the learning phase so they can recheck their assumptions and refit themselves to the latest data out there. Moreover, algorithms, you can't talk to them and explain to them what your business goals and objectives are or what your client's business goals and objectives are. That still requires a human to sit down, listen to the client, and then go into the platform and realize what's the best way to achieve these goals and objectives. Furthermore, sometimes goals and objectives change, which require us to go back to square one and redo things over. An algorithm, you can't sit down and just explain that there's a recession going on and I need you to change bids. That requires you going in and doing that. More than that, paid media strategists will be working with other integrators in-house and with the client to make sure everything is technically set up stay up to date with the latest updates coming in from Google, make sure that we're following the best practices and integrating any new CRMs. Besides all that, we're constantly working with our colleagues in social and elsewhere to see what trends are happening, for instance, in Facebook, and make sure we're translating that into Google. As smart as these Google algorithms are, Google likes to stay in its lane and Facebook in its own, and we're the bridge between those two systems. And lastly, like I said, staying up to date with the latest Google updates and best practices. With that, I'm going to pass it back to Jess. Thank you.
Thanks, Matt and Chase. We do have a few questions that have come in, and I know I would encourage anybody listening, if any, there was a lot of technical information there. I know Matt and Chase did their best to, break it down, but I, for one, I'm always asking questions. What do you mean? What's that mean? And I would encourage you, if there was something that you thought, oh, there was a nugget there I really wanted to know more about, but I needed, one more level explained, please feel free to ask those questions. It's a completely safe space. These guys are in the weeds, and some of us need them to come back out and explain it in layman's terms for us. So please ask those types of questions as well. The first question that we will tackle here, and I think this could go to Chase or Matt, either one. Are all of Google's automation options available to all advertisers, regardless of budget? Or are there some features and options that are only available if your media spend is above a certain threshold?
Matt, if you don't mind, I'm going to go ahead and take that. The short answer is that regardless of what your budget size is, whether it's $20 a month or $20 million, all smart bidding strategies and all smart campaign types are available to you. The slightly longer answer is, if your paid media budgets are high enough, there's a good chance that Google might want to opt you into a beta where there might be new campaign types or new bidding strategies that they're testing. However, once those bidding strategies and campaign types are out of beta, they will be made available to you. I hope that answers the question.
Thanks, Chase. And I would say also, just at Spinutech, we have a wide range of clients, and we do see, paid media budgets from the full spectrum, right? Hundreds of thousands of dollars a month down to $1,000 a month. So there's a lot to be taken advantage of, regardless of your budget size. Next question is, how do most DSPs differ from the Google Display Network? Are they worth the higher CPMs?
I would say, I'll take this one. Yes, they are worth the higher CPMs. The Google Display Network just lives in the Google space, so you're tapping into just Google's inventory, versus other DSPs have a wider reach around the industry. Also, it is to note that GDN is kind of the entry level into the digital space for Google. There is another level up called DV360, which has more robust targeting as well. So if you look at how they set up their business model, it kind of shows that there are potentially better options out there from GDN. And with that being said, depending on what you're trying to get after, if you're trying to take a united approach with your search efforts and that type of stuff, like GDN can get the job done from a unified approach, but different DSPs offer different features and functionalities and different audience types and that type of stuff.
Anything to add there, Chase? Are you good?
No, I'm definitely aligned with Matt. I'd say, especially if you're doing peer display, I would look into your DSP options. From Google, I think if you're doing something like PMAX, search, shopping, and that's your main focus, display might be okay then if you're just for retargeting. But yeah, there's a lot of advantages to the other display networks when it comes to peer prospecting and peer display.
And if you already have your seat on the Google Display Network, a lot of these DSPs have minimums, and there's different contractual requirements. So it might be too intensive for some clients, but if they're already using the search side of things on GDN, and it might just make sense to just align there.
Awesome, thank you. Next question. Will adapting to data privacy best practices put your business ahead of the pack, or put your put you ahead of the competition?
Yeah, I can start off taking it from a Google Ads point of view. Yes, adapting to data privacy regulations and updates will put you ahead of the pack. I've had close conversations with our Google reps and just paid attention to what Google is doing in business news. They've stuck their finger up into the wind. They see which ways the winds are blowing. They look at what the EU is doing. They look at what California is doing. So over time, Google Ads as a platform is going to become more privacy first and more restrictive. So the more that you can do right now to get ahead of the curve will give you an edge over your competition, and it'll just make sure that regardless of what happens, you're in a really good place. I think that also ties back into what we were talking about with integrating your first party data, and as well, besides integrating that, making sure you're integrating Google Ads for the latest analytics platform into your website. And if that's something that you want to know more about, we're actually doing a webinar next month all about GA4.
Nice plug. Thanks, Jace. GA4 and enhanced conversions coming up next month. So another question kind of related to the data side of things. You talked about micro conversions and setting those up if you get fewer than 30 conversions a month. How do we decide which micro conversions are worth tracking and counting toward our goals? What if those micro conversions aren't necessarily KPIs for us? Do we need them anyway?
Yep. No, that's a great question. To backtrack, remember that for micro conversions or in conversions in general, as a rule of thumb, we want to get at least 30 per month. If you can't get 30 of whatever your primary conversion is, so I'm going to use it as an example. Let's say you're an e-commerce store and you want to get 30 purchases per month. So that means someone putting an item into the shopping cart and then checking all the way out. So you have less than 30. What would be good then is to find a conversion that approximates your primary conversion. So for instance, add to carts. That's a way of measuring the customer's journey, their path to purchase, and a step along it. So in that case, that would be a really good micro conversion since it's approximating the actual conversion that you want. Google's machine learning algorithms will then learn about the behavior of people to add to cart, learn about that audience, and then try and target them more, the people who will finish that path to purchase. If you're a lead gen, again, maybe someone who from the landing page clicks to the form fill page, or if you have a way to measure whether they started filling out the form fill but that didn't finish, those would all be good micro conversions that, again, you're kind of measuring where along the path, the journey they went before falling off.
Yeah, just to piggyback off everything Chase said, yeah, I have some examples where like it's a leading pool provider store. They don't really have an e-com presence. So trying to track, users trying to find their closest store or getting a services quote, those type things. Like, our main goal is typically to drive users to the store. So them taking that step of like inputting their address or zip code and find the closest store, or requesting someone to contact them for a quote, and then Chase mentioned the drop cart audience where someone started the form fill. We've implemented that across numerous clients. Another example also could be users trying to, if there is some sort of form fill goal or like a demo request goal or something of the like, we can still also, most larger clients have content pieces people can sign up and download. So like it may not be a primary KPI, but users that are trying to find out more information by downloading a white paper or even attending a client's webinar like ours, those are definitely good indicators of users that are more likely to in turn down the road fill out that form and convert.
That's great. And Matt, you reminded me of one other anecdote that I think will help answer this question. One of our clients, their goal was to get people to sign up for franchisee forms. Basically, they wanted more people to franchise their specific business. You can understand that's a very specific, difficult to obtain conversion type. And on the website, they didn't have a lot of options for technical reasons for other types of micro conversions to track that approximate that journey I was talking about. So instead, they set up a really simple microconversion. We're talking about, people whose time on site is more than 1 minute, or people who check out 2 or 3 pages. Almost anybody out there using Google Ads and with access to Google Analytics should be able to set up those microconversions. So anyways, our agency, we set that up and started tracking that. And Google was able to learn off that data and start bidding after a different audience. And what we saw is for that client who was getting maybe, less than 1 form fill per month, those form fills started going up over time because the algorithms were able to learn who this ideal audience is just based on their engagements on the website and then focus more on them.
I really appreciate both Matt and Chase sharing some examples. I think that really helps to paint the picture of how some of this stuff can work. So thank you both. I would encourage anybody who may have a question that did not get answered, either live here in our session, or if you just, as you're thinking about this later, if you have a question come to mind, please feel free to reach out to us. We're happy to continue that conversation and dig in and answer any questions you might have. I want to encourage everybody to watch for an email from us tomorrow with a link to the recording of today's event. We thank you for joining us, but we realize we threw a lot at you. So that recording link will be coming your way if you want to check on, rewatch and digest everything that you heard, or to share it with colleagues or whatever you might want to do. Our next webinar is coming up, as we mentioned, about GA4 and Google Enhanced Conversions, coming up on August 31st, going to be led by 2 of our web analytics strategists, Jeremy Schmidt and Brandon Beaver. And because you attended today's webinar, we will automatically send you an invitation to this next one. You should see that in your inbox in about 2 or 3 weeks. And you can go ahead and kind of hold a spot for us on August 31st if this is a topic you're interested in learning more about. In the meantime, as I said, we are open to further conversations, happy to answer questions. You can reach us at this webinar@spinutech.com email address that you see here. You can also check out our past webinars and a schedule of the upcoming events on our website. Link is here and will also be included in that follow-up email tomorrow. We thank you all for joining us and hope you have a good rest of your day.